Okay, let's unpack this. You know how certain materials seem fundamentally unwilling to adopt a simple magnetic order. It's like the atomic spins are locked in a perpetual tug-of-war, leading to these bizarre and fascinating magnetic phases we call frustrated magnets. For anyone who's dabbled in this area, you know that truly understanding their behavior can feel like chasing a phantom.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is that this inherent conflict, arriving from competing interactions at the atomic level, often becomes the crucible for truly novel material properties. It's within this complexity that the potential for technological breakthroughs and a deeper understanding of fundamental physics resides.
Exactly, and that's precisely what brings us to the core of our deep dive today. You flagged some compelling research focused on a theoretical model that has grappled with this frustration for decades, the 1D J1 J2 Q-state POS model. And it appears a definitive, exact solution has finally emerged.
Indeed. The sources you provided detail a significant theoretical achievement in solving this long-standing puzzle. While the model itself is abstract, its implications resonate deeply with fundamental questions about how order arises in complex systems.
So for those of us who follow this generally but might not be steeped in the theoretical minutiae, can we break down the essentials? What is the POTS model and what's so problematic about this J1, J2 interaction?
Absolutely. Think of the POTS model as a more generalized framework than the Ising model you might be familiar with. In Ising, each lattice site has a spin that's either up or down a binary choice. The Q-state POTS model expands this, allowing each site to exist in one of Q possible states. This Q can range from 2, which recovers the Ising model, to theoretically any integer, allowing us to explore systems with varying degrees of underlying symmetry.
Okay, so instead of a two-sided coin at each site, we're dealing with a Q-sided die. Got
That's
it.
a concise analogy, yeah. And the crucial aspect is how these states on neighboring sites interact. The Potts model is instrumental in understanding transitions between ordered phases, particularly those involving changes in the system symmetry, from the simple, discrete symmetry of the Ising model to more intricate symmetries as Q increases.
Right. And now for the J1, J2 part, what do these interactions represent? J1 and J2.
So J1 quantifies the interaction strength between the closest neighboring sites on our 1D chain, the direct coupling between adjacent dice, if you like. J2, on the other hand, describes the interaction between next nearest neighbors, the dice that are one step removed. The frustration we mentioned earlier arises precisely when these J1 and J2 interactions have opposing preferences. For instance, J1 might favor neighboring sites being in the same state, while J2 might prefer them to be in different states.
Ah, okay, so they're pulling in opposite directions.
Exactly. This competition makes it impossible for the system to satisfy all interactions simultaneously, leading to a frustrated ground state and the potential for a rich variety of complex phases at different temperatures and interaction strengths.
So it's like having competing forces within the system itself, preventing it from settling into a simple, uniform state. That makes sense.
Precisely. And to determine the actual behavior of the system, the phases it adopts under different conditions, we often employ the transfer matrix method, especially for one-dimensional models like this. As you know, this is a cornerstone technique for analyzing 1D systems.
Right, the transfer matrix. Can you just quickly remind us of the fundamental principle there?
In essence, the transfer matrix is a mathematical operator that allows us to calculate the partition function of a 1D system. The partition function, which encapsulates all the thermodynamic information, things like free energy and entropy, is constructed considering how the state of one segment of the chain influences the next. The eigenvalues of this transfer matrix are paramount, with the largest eigenvalue dictating the system's macroscopic behavior in the thermodynamic limit when the chain becomes infinitely long.
Sounds like a powerful tool. So what has historically prevented an exact solution for this J1, J2 Q-state POTS model if we have this method at our disposal? What was the roadblock?
Here's where the core challenge lies and where the new research makes its crucial contribution. The dimensionality of the transfer matrix for the Q-state POTS model scales as Q squared times Q squared.
Q squared times Q squared. Okay.
Yeah, so for the simple Ising case, Q equals 2, this results in a manageable 4 by 4 matrix. However, as Q increases, the size of this matrix explodes. For Q equals 3, it's a 9 by 9 matrix, already posing a significant hurdle for analytical solutions.
9 by 9. Yeah, that's already getting pretty hairy analytically.
Right, and imagine the scale for larger values of Q. The example in the source of 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 10 just illustrates the immense computational barrier. It's just astronomical.
Okay, wow. That's an astronomical increase in complexity. So previous approaches must have relied on approximations or numerical techniques to circumvent this size issue.
Exactly. Researchers have explored various avenues, including reducing the problem to effective matrices of smaller dimensions, such as QXQ or even 2 by 2 in certain continuous Q limits. While these efforts yielded valuable insights into the model's behavior, they fell short of providing a complete, exact analytical solution valid for the J1, J2 Q-state POTS model for any arbitrary integer value of Q. This is the fundamental challenge that this new work has successfully addressed.
All right, we've outlined the problem, the sheer size of the transfer matrix for arbitrary Q. Now let's delve into the innovative solution, the maximally symmetric subspace method, or MSS. What's the central idea behind this breakthrough?
Okay, so the key innovation lies in a sophisticated exploitation of the intrinsic permutation symmetry inherent in the POTS model. The Hamiltonian, which mathematically describes the energy of the system, remains invariant under any permutation of the Q possible states at each lattice site. These permutations form a mathematical group known as the symmetric group, SM. The central insight of the maximally symmetric subspace method is that the dominant eigenvalue of the transfer matrix, the one that determines the system's thermodynamic behavior, resides within a specific reduced subspace that fully respects this SE permutation symmetry.
So rather than grappling with that enormous Q squared by Q squared matrix, they've identified a smaller, kind of symmetry-protected sector of the mathematical space that holds the key information.
Precisely. This symmetry allows for a powerful mathematical simplification known as block diagonalization. Imagine taking that large complex matrix and, through a specific transformation, decomposing it into smaller, independent blocks along its diagonal.
Okay, breaking it down.
Yeah, these blocks become decoupled, making the eigenvalue problem significantly more tractable.
That sounds like a substantial simplification. But how does this MSS method achieve such a dramatic reduction, especially down to an effective 2 by 2 matrix? That seems almost counterintuitive for a system with Q states, however many Q might be.
Well, the elegance of the method lies in the identification of the maximally symmetric subspace itself. The researchers demonstrated that within this particular subspace, the entire Q squared by Q squared transfer matrix can be analytically reduced to a remarkably simple 2 by 2 matrix.
A 2 by 2.
A 2 by 2. And this holds true irrespective of the value of Q.
Wow.
This massive reduction in complexity is the core innovation of this work, enabling the exact solution.
A 2 by 2 matrix that captures the essential physics for any Q. How is that mathematically possible? What defines this subspace?
It turns out that this maximally symmetric 2 by 2 subspace is spanned by only two very specific, highly symmetric vectors. The source provides their mathematical expressions, denoted as Pussy and J. These vectors are constructed in such a way that they embody the full permutation symmetry of the system, representing states where all Q possibilities are treated equivalently. Because the transfer matrix respects this underlying symmetry, it only mixes these two maximally symmetric states within this subspace, hence the emergence of the effective 2 by 2 matrix. It doesn't mix them with anything outside this very special subspace.
Okay, so they found a highly specialized low-dimensional subspace that, due to the system's symmetry, effectively governs the large-scale behavior. That's really clever.
That's an excellent way to frame it, yes. And this analytical reduction to a 2 by 2 matrix allows for the exact determination of the largest eigenvalue, and consequently the free energy and all other thermodynamic properties of the 1D J1 J2 Q state POTS model for any value of Q.
Incredible. Okay, so what are the key physical results that have emerged from this theoretical breakthrough, and what is their academic significance for the field? What new physics did they uncover?
Well, the most significant outcome, undoubtedly, is the exact analytical solution itself for the 1D J1 J2 Q state POTS model valid for arbitrary Q. That's the headline. However, the analysis of this exact solution has yielded several fascinating physical insights. One key finding is the demonstration that this seemingly complex, frustrated model can be mathematically mapped onto a simpler 1D Q state POTS model, but with a crucial modification.
Mapped onto a simpler model. How?
The next nearest neighbor interaction J2 in the original frustrated model now manifests as a nearest neighbor interaction in this effective model, while the original nearest neighbor interaction J1 transforms into an effective magnetic field acting on this simpler system.
That's a remarkable connection. It suggests a deeper underlying unity between these seemingly different interaction types. And you mentioned this extends a previously known result for the Ising model Q equals 2.
Precisely. This mapping was established for the Q equal 2 Ising model, providing valuable valuable insights into its behavior in the presence of competing interactions. This new work significantly generalizes this understanding by showing that this mapping holds true for any integer value of Q, revealing a more fundamental relationship between frustrated systems and simpler, well-understood models subject to an effective external field. The source even provides the explicit form of the Hamiltonian for this effective model, which is a crucial result for others wanting to build on this.
Right. And what about the different phases that this model exhibits? What new understanding has the exact solution provided about those? The actual states of matter, so to speak.
Yes, the researchers have been able to precisely map out the ground state phase diagram, the state of the system at absolute zero temperature, as a function of the interaction strengths for all values of Q. They find a general structure consisting of three distinct phases: a ferromagnetic phase where spins tend to align, a randomly dimerized phase for QA3, or a simple dimerized phase for Q equal 2, characterized by strong correlations between pairs of neighboring spins, and a paramagnetic phase, or antiferromagnetic for Q equals 2, where long-range order is absent. These distinct phases are separated by two critical points, marking transitions between them.
And I recall seeing a mention of residual entropy in the context of these phases. What role does that play?
Good point. Residual entropy is the non-zero entropy that a system can possess even at absolute zero temperature, indicating the presence of multiple degenerate ground states, basically, multiple ways the system can arrange itself with the same lowest energy. The researchers found that these different ground state phases and the critical points separating them are characterized by distinct values of residual entropy, and crucially, these entropies exhibit a strong dependence on the value of Q.
So Q changes the amount of disorder even at zero temperature.
In a sense, yes. This Q dependence provides vital information about the nature and stability of these different phases. It tells you about the degeneracy, the number of ways the system can be configured.
Now, one of the more intriguing findings discussed was the emergence and subsequent disappearance of the TC dome. Can you elaborate on that? What is a TC dome in this context?
Right. The TC dome refers to a region within the phase diagram where the critical temperature for a phase transition, the temperature below which order sets in, exhibits a dome-like shape as a function of some other parameter. In this case, it's the relative strength of the J1 and J2 interactions. The surprising result here is that a TC dome appears at low temperatures for smaller values of Q and then vanishes as Q becomes sufficiently large.
A dome of critical temperatures that suggests a non-monotonic dependence on the interaction parameters. It goes up, then comes down. What's the underlying mechanism driving this behavior? Why does it appear and then disappear?
This is really interesting. The researchers propose a novel mechanism for the formation and disappearance of this TC dome, directly linking it to the relative magnitudes of the residual entropies at the two critical points that define the boundaries of the intermediate dimerized phase.
Linking back to the residual entropy again.
Exactly. For small values of Q, the residual entropies at these critical points are significantly larger than those in the adjacent phases. As the temperature is raised, this large entropy difference leads to V-shaped regions emanating from these critical points in the phase diagram. These V-shaped regions then merge to form the characteristic dome-like shape for the randomly dimerized phase.
Okay, I think I see. So the high entropy at the critical points pushes the transition temperature up nearby, creating the V's that join up?
Pretty much. But for larger values of Q, the residual entropies at the critical points become much closer in magnitude to those of the neighboring phases. The difference shrinks.
So the driving force for the V-shape weakens.
Precisely. As a result, these distinct V-shaped regions do not develop sufficiently to merge into a dome, and the dome structure disappears. This is a significant new insight into the mechanisms governing the emergence of such phase diagram features, connecting zero-temperature entropy to finite-temperature phase boundaries.
That's a fascinating connection between a zero-temperature property, like residual entropy, and the shape of the finite-temperature phase diagram. And the source also pointed to potential implications for understanding real materials, specifically layered materials. How does this 1D model relate?
Yes, this is where the academic significance extends beyond the purely theoretical realm. The 1D J1G2 POTS model, despite its simplicity, can provide valuable conceptual frameworks for understanding the complex stacking of atomic or electronic orders observed in many layered materials. You see, in layered materials, interactions within a layer can be quite strong, while interactions between layers might be weaker or compete in interesting ways. This 1D model captures some essence of that competition along one direction. The source highlights examples such as charge stripe ordering in Nicolets, Star of David charge density waves in certain dichalcogenides like 1T-TAS2, and spin spiral ordering in Weil semimetals like USB.
So understanding the competition in 1D helps understand how layers might stack or order relative to each other.
That's the idea. The insights gained from this exact solution regarding the interplay of competing interactions in one dimension can offer a crucial theoretical foundation for interpreting and potentially predicting the intricate stacking patterns seen in these more complex, quasi-lower dimensional materials.
So this exact solution to a seemingly abstract 1D model could have tangible implications for our understanding of advanced materials with intricate ordering phenomena. That's a great connection.
Precisely. And having an exact analytical solution now opens up avenues for more detailed theoretical investigations of related models and for more direct comparisons with experimental observations on these layered systems. It provides a solid benchmark.
Now let's turn to a truly surprising aspect of this research, the role played by artificial intelligence. It seems AI actually contributed to this significant scientific discovery.
Indeed, and this was quite unexpected. The researchers explicitly acknowledged the use of OpenAI's O3 mini-high reasoning model in their work. Initially, they employed this AI to tackle the specific case of the J1, J2 POTS model with Q equals 3.
Just Q equal 3?
Just Q equal 3. As we discussed, even for Q equals 3, the transfer matrix is a 9 by 9, which presents a considerable analytical challenge by hand.
So the AI was instrumental in finding the exact solution for this more complex Q equal 3 scenario. That's a noteworthy achievement in itself, solving that 9 by 9 problem.
It was a significant step, yes. The AI was able to derive the exact solution for the Q equals 3 case, but perhaps more importantly, from a scientific advancement perspective, this explicit solution for Q equals 3 provided crucial insights and served as a key inspiration for the author.
Inspiration how?
It inspired the author to then seek a general symmetry-based block diagonalization approach that would be applicable to arbitrary values of Q equals 3. The AI didn't directly stumble upon the general MSS solution, but its success in solving a complex, non-trivial instance of the problem provided a concrete example.
Ah, okay, so it showed that a solution was possible for a tricky case and maybe hinted at the underlying structure.
Exactly. It strongly suggested the underlying mathematical structure and the potential for a more general symmetry-based approach. It gave the researcher a foothold and a direction.
So the AI acted as a powerful analytical tool for a specific, challenging case, providing a critical piece of the puzzle that ultimately guided the human researcher towards the more general fundamental solution.
Exactly. That seems to be the narrative. While the AI proved invaluable for the QS3 case, the source notes that it encountered limitations when attempting to generalize the solution to arbitrary Q.
It couldn't make the leap.
Apparently not. The complexity of the permutation group skew grows rapidly with increasing Q, and the AI struggled to navigate this abstract mathematical landscape to produce a universally applicable solution. It even generated some non-functional code when prompted to find a general formalism.
This really underscores the current limitations of AI in performing truly creative, high-level mathematical reasoning. It could be an incredibly powerful tool for complex analysis, but the leap to formulating a general theoretical framework still seems to heavily rely on human intuition and insight, connecting the dots.
That's a crucial point, I think. The researchers describe this as representing a new paradigm of data and value-driven discovery. The AI provided valuable data in this instance, the exact solution for Q equals 3, which the human scientist could then evaluate, interpret, and connect with fundamental theoretical principles, ultimately leading to the breakthrough general solution.
A synergistic model of discovery data from the AI, insight from the human.
Exactly, it's a partnership.
So it's not a matter of AI replacing human scientists, not yet anyway, but rather of AI augmenting their capabilities, potentially accelerating the pace of scientific progress by handling computationally demanding or highly complex specific cases, thereby freeing up human researchers to focus on the more abstract, conceptual challenges.
Precisely. It suggests a future where AI can serve as a powerful reasoning partner, assisting us in navigating the vast and intricate landscape of scientific problems, even if it doesn't always provide the complete final answer on its own.
This has been a truly insightful deep dive into a remarkably complex problem. To recap, we've explored the inherent challenges of understanding frustrated magnets, the intricacies of the Q-state POTS model with competing J1, J2 interactions, and the groundbreaking solution achieved through the maximally symmetric subspace method, which yields an exact result valid for any Q.
Right. And we discussed the surprising new insights that came from that solution, the mapping to an effective model, The details of the ground state phases, the intriguing behavior of the TC dome, and its connection to residual entropy.
And of course, the fascinating and somewhat unexpected role that artificial intelligence played in this significant scientific advancement, helping with a key step.
And it's important to reiterate the academic impact for the fields of condensed matter physics and materials science. This work provides not only a fundamental solution to a long-standing theoretical problem, but also offers a new lens through which to understand the behavior of frustrated systems and layered materials, potentially guiding future theoretical and experimental investigations in these active areas of research.
So, considering the AI's involvement in this breakthrough, it really prompts us to think about the future trajectory of scientific discovery. How will this dynamic interplay between human intuition and the analytical power of artificial intelligence continue to shape the way we unravel the mysteries of the universe? What other seemingly intractable problems in science might be amenable to this type of AI-assisted approach, even if the AI doesn't provide the ultimate solution directly? It feels like we are witnessing the dawn of a new era in scientific exploration, maybe.
Indeed, it raises profound questions about the very nature of scientific creativity and the potential for a truly collaborative partnership between human minds and artificial intelligence in pushing the frontiers of knowledge. It's certainly something to watch.
Well, for those of you listening who are keen to delve deeper into the technical details and explore the mathematical underpinnings of this fascinating research, we strongly encourage you to investigate the source materials we've discussed today. You'll find a wealth of information on frustrated magnetism, the Q-state Potts model, the maximally symmetric subspace method, and the intriguing applications of symmetry principles in physics. It's a rich and rewarding area of inquiry.